What's up, everybody? Welcome to Jonathan the Baptist. I'm Jonathan, and today we're going to be talking about Brent Leatherwood's response to Steven Crowder releasing the Nashville shooters manifesto, which I thought was, from what I saw, was pretty ridiculous. I don't know how great this video is going to be, so hopefully it'll be good. So we're just going to listen to what he has to say. I might pause here and there and comment, but I feel like for whatever reason he has this idea that this manifesto should have been covered up, and I think I've only listened to parts of this. His main argument is that it should have been stayed hidden because it's brought more pain to the families, and so therefore we should have just kept it sealed. Where I would counter, if we had just released it back in the day, we could have avoided all this, and no more harm would have come to the families anyways. So it's like, yeah, okay. Let's watch this and see how it goes.
Find myself here again at Woodmont Baptist, a place that means so much to so many parents and families of the Covenant School. For it was here, in fact, just outside those doors behind us.
Speed it up a little bit.
That so many of us were reunited with our children and our loved ones, and that is a beautiful example of what the church should always be: a place of reunification, a sanctuary from the chaos of the outside world.
Not sure what this has to do with anything, but all right, keep going.
Not all of us at Covenant had that experience that day. 6 of our families were fractured on March 27th. Never again to be able to tuck a child into bed or kiss a loved one goodbye as they left for work. For all of us, it was a day of unimaginable terror.
What does this have to do with the manifesto?
Those of us with children and loved ones who did survive that mass murder event, the last 8 months have been arduous and difficult.
I'm sure it has.
So it's really hard to put into words what that pain
If you can't put it into words, why are you doing this?
today. Only increase that already heavy burden. So how did we get here? Parents and families came together to prevent this exact moment from happening. To prevent
Okay, so he just admitted that the parents and families are the ones responsible for hiding the manifesto. So he's going to make a claim a little bit later that we haven't learned any new information. So I just want you to remember this. Here's the logic. On the one hand, they want to hide this manifesto because of the damage it could do to the families. But on the other hand, they want to say, well, we didn't really learn anything new or helpful from releasing it. Those are contradictory ideas. If there's nothing new or damaging in it, then what's wrong with just releasing it? Well, I don't actually agree with that premise, but that is an argument that he's going to make if I saw this video correctly. But so if we had just done it early on, according to his own logic, then this could have all been avoided, because releasing it wouldn't have done any new or furthering damage, because it was stuff we already knew. It's like, what he's not thinking logically. He's not arguing logically here. Now, I don't think I'm not 100% sure that I'm on the side that we have to release these manifestos. Personally, I thought at the time that we should have released this one. And I'm not complaining about the fact that it's been released. I think it can only that it's in this case. I think that this one is helpful for us to see the context of what's going on. I do think that in certain circumstances, it's good to let people see the context. I think one of the problems with sometimes manifestos like this being hidden is that people can't see the truth, and I'm actually kind of explaining this to myself as we go. There are certain cases where people, especially these situations that are so public, and people just want to understand what happened, and then if you conceal the truth, people are left with an uneasy feeling about it. I think there's a lot of people who are like, okay, we know for sure what's going on here. But when you conceal something like this that everybody's talking about, how are we supposed to make any meaningful changes if we don't even know exactly what happened? Like, I think that I think you have to. I think you have to release these things. I'm not necessarily opposed to the idea of, in certain circumstances, potentially not releasing them. But I can't think off the top of my head of one of those where that. But I think that would probably be the exception and not the rule. So I can't really think of an example where that would ever occur. But I'm willing to admit that there's potentially a reason not to. But I think like 99.99% of the time, it's probably just it's probably better just to release it, you know. All right, so there's a contrasting argument that is about to happen.
The re-victimizing of our children and prevent further trauma to our families. Because
I don't know how it's victimizing to release a manifesto.
these writings and thoughts from the shooter were heinous. Just today, I've received numerous phone calls from fellow parents, upset and afraid to even look online at the images that are going all across social media. The damage done today is already significant, and I'm worried it's only going to grow.
Is he going to explain the damage? What damage are you specifically referring to?
Images of these disgusting writings. What have we learned? Have we learned anything new? Have we learned anything we didn't already know?
There it is.
Did we not already know that this was a deeply disturbed individual who was detached from reality? What more evidence was needed? She shot her way into a school and killed 6 defenseless lives.
Kind of has this smug look as if he's like proving his point. But like again, if there's nothing new, if we already knew everything that was in the documents, then why hide it? In fact, it's better to rip the Band-Aid off now and get it over with. Really, it was better to rip the Band-Aid off back in the day so they didn't have to relive this trauma, if that's what your biggest focus is. So this was always going to get leaked. It was always going to get leaked. The government is terrible at hiding the truth. Even if it were a few years later, it was going to come out. Let's be real. So why not just get it over with? Especially if, according to you, it's already what we knew. Like, doesn't make any sense. He's just appealing to emotions here. That's his only argument.
That's not an attitude.
She's certainly in need of Christ.
So now, community, school, families who have already suffered so much, we're left yet again to deal with this terror. And so a couple of very specific points. To the online shock jock who aired these images.
So now he's attacking Steven Crowder.
I would challenge him, and anyone who amplifies them online, just be a human for once. Quit seeking clicks, retweets, platform building.
I think, excuse me, sorry. I don't remember. I think it might have been Evangelical Dark Web was talking about how he quoted, somebody quoted this and was saying that he's claiming that Steven Crowder and other people who repost this are not human. But I don't think that's actually exactly what he's saying. I think he's saying they're inhumane. They are not acting like a human, which I think is a stupid reaction. Because just because somebody did something that you don't approve of, that's not inhumane. Like, you can't just call something you don't like inhumane. Inhumane is acting in intense cruelty. Like, that's something that's inhumane. Doing something that in general humans would not do, that's inhumane. Releasing or just uncovering the truth and releasing it to the public is not inhumane. If anything, this is the most humane thing you can do is releasing the truth.
And I would say specifically, any sort of profit or revenue that was generated by this, naked display of platform building,
Is that all?
that money should go directly to the 6 families.
Okay.
It should go to the Covenant School to help pay for the security that is there each and every day trying to make sure our kids are safe. Because that's another contention that many parents have had. These writings do have the ability to inspire further attacks. And not just on us, on other communities. We saw this in Allen, Texas, where that shooter referenced the Covenant shooter. How many more people have to be killed in a senseless way so that you can get clicks?
So I'm not quite of the opinion that serial killers necessarily like talking about a crime necessarily means that it will cause copycats. I actually don't think that's true. I know that a lot of people talk about that, how if you say the name publicly, if you put their picture online, that suddenly people are more likely to copycat. I'm like, I don't think that's quite true. You know, in an evil society where all people are doing really horrible things, maybe. In a society where we celebrate people doing evil things, well, certainly that seems to be the case. But just because somebody referenced something doesn't mean that it's your fault, or that person's fault. I do think perhaps serial killers can be inspired by each other, but like that happened before this was released. Like, what is releasing the manifesto going to do that's not already, been done? I don't think his premise is actually true. And honestly, like, if people are so mentally unstable or under demonic influence that they want to go kill a bunch of people, which is the inhumane thing to do, right? That's like, I don't think not talking about or not releasing a manifesto is going to prevent that. They talk about as if not releasing the manifesto is a preventative measure that will stop people from doing this in the future, but that's not the case. People are going to do this anyways. The cause of somebody going out and shooting somebody is not because a manifesto was released online. Like, That's not the cause. The cause is their deeply sinful and troubled heart, and their active rebellion against a good God and His good laws. That's the cause. Does he talk about that? Not really. Not really. He does talk about how deeply troubled this person is, but like, yeah, of course, everybody agrees. I don't see why, talking about the truth is a problem. Like, honestly, if something came up and we just started talking about this again anyways and had nothing to do with the manifesto, it'd probably have the same reaction for the parents. Like, but that's a news cycle. Like, that can't be helped. Like, so I think that his all of his arguments really are bunk. Really, I think he's the one that caused all this, or one of the ones that caused all this.
To the person who took these images and released them.
Bravo.
You are a viper.
A viper.
Member of the law enforcement community.
Allegedly.
You have released evidence that was gathered in our most vulnerable moment.
Okay. It's about to tears.
Wow. This woman who terrorized our family with bullets to be able to now terrorize us with words from the grave.
Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. First of all, what that lady did is far more terrorizing than what she said. Like, if anything, the words really help us understand what she was thinking when she did that. Like, okay.
Person does this. I've had a number of conversations today with Metro Police, TBI, and others. Metro has assured me that this is a felony. The person who did this will be brought to justice. They will be arrested. And that absolutely has to happen.
And hopefully given a pardon for anything that they throw at them.
But obviously, on that day, they have shown incredible bravery. And since then, they have shown incredible kindness to us. And I am so thankful for those police officers.
Has nothing to do with the manifesto.
Who have said how grateful they are for the prayers that our families have prayed for them on so many nights. And so this doesn't reflect you in law enforcement, whether it's Metro, TBI, or some other member of law enforcement. This is not you. This is someone who is in your midst.
Okay.
So I just want to say to that person, I will commit to praying for you.
Well, there you go. That's good.
Yourself, so that justice may be done. In the Christian life, repentance is key.
Well, repentance for sin, yes. But I don't think what he did was a sin. Necessarily. It could have been. I don't know the exact situation of what happened, but
On our families, and realize the wrong that they have committed. And my hope is that you find renewal.
the only evil I've heard against your families was the shooter.
And Woodmont Baptist, and so many of our churches around here have been praying for our families, for our children. He is the way, the truth, and the life.
Look, I'm not saying that it's not going to be, or that it's going to be peaches and daisies for all the families of Covington rehashing this out. In fact, that's my argument for why we should have released it back in the day, because we knew this was going to get out, and we should have just released it then and gotten the Band-Aid over with while it was still fresh, before it had time to seal and cement and harden on there. Like, the longer you wait, the worse it's going to be for these people. But that's not. But because it's going to cause emotional pain isn't an excuse for not doing it. Like, do it. You have sometimes doing the right thing causes emotional pain. Like that's reality. Um, everything that SPC often talks about is like, well, this could cause trauma. This could cause emotional damage. I'm like, so what? Sometimes that has to happen. Sometimes you have to do. Sometimes you have to make people sad. Like that. That's reality. Sometimes doing the right thing causes emotional pain. That's just reality. Um, like, okay, that's not an excuse not to do something. I realize life is hard. Sometimes you got to do hard things because it's the right thing to do. Like, sometimes you got to do things that cause physical pain or result in physical pain. Again, not a reason not to do something. The reason to or not to do something is because something is just or unjust. We do something because it is just. Like, that's why the death penalty is a thing. Yes, it's going to cause physical and emotional trauma to the person who died, but it is just. Like, that's the right thing to do, to put somebody to death for a heinous crime. Of course it's going to cause pain. Like, and the fact that it does is more reason to do it. Going to war when your cause is just, that's something you got to do sometimes, and that's going to cause a lot of trauma. But sometimes you just got to do it because that's the only way to protect. In a lot of cases, that's what you have to do. So it's like he throws out, "Oh well, people were traumatized." Well, so what? They can get over trauma. Trauma it's just emotional. Why are we so hooked on trauma as if it's the be-all, end-all of whether we should do the right thing or not? I'm not saying that we should unjustly cause trauma to people, but I don't see this as unjust. You'd have to give me a reason other than it caused trauma as to why they should not release this. Otherwise, I'm going to say this seems like a just thing to bring out the truth, and the people who were resisting this are the ones at fault for any of the trauma that comes because of how long they push this off.
And for this individual, even though I believe justice must be done in this moment, that is the way he will truly be set free.
He just has a different understanding of what justice is. All right, this is the part I haven't heard. I'd heard some of that.
And any other law enforcement who have far superior capabilities in terms of technology to be able to answer that question and ascertain.
I didn't hear the question. Hold on. Let me cut this up for me. This is really low. I tried watching... Oh, wow. Sorry. I tried watching this on YouTube, and the one on YouTube, like, one of the sides isn't working. I don't know what they did with their audio, but...
And for this individual, even though I believe justice must be done in this moment, that is the way he will truly be set free.
All right, here we go.
I'll let Metro
Still didn't hear that.
enforcement who have far superior capabilities in terms of technology.
They're whispering. I don't know. He didn't answer the question, so it doesn't really matter.
I don't believe the hill was secured very quickly that day. I believe that this is a member of the law enforcement.
Let's zoom in on his face.
It doesn't change anything. I believe that this is just the tip of the iceberg. Our parents are still committed. Our families are still committed. Everything we can to make sure that none of the rest of this sees light. disconnected ramblings, but they are connected by one thing: their ego. And so, no, it doesn't change anything from that legal efforts.
Okay, so I think that's the real reason that he doesn't want this to come out, because he doesn't want his kids to read this. And look, there's an easy way to do that. Keep your kids off the internet. That's an easy way to do it. Don't let your kids on the internet. There you go, problem solved. Don't let them watch the news when it's on. You know, it's not hard. So, like, I don't understand what his problem is. But he did just admit that he's going to be hiding, or he's going to be fighting to hide everything else. So apparently there's more that he wants to keep covered up for whatever dumb reason. And I guess his biggest reason is that emotionally he can't handle the idea that his parent or his kids would ever read this. And look, I get it. I wouldn't want my kids to read it either. But that doesn't mean that the public doesn't deserve to know. So, you know, I think he's biased in a way that he can't in a way that he can't overcome in his own logic. So it is what it is. Let's keep going.
I'm sorry, say it one more time. Yeah. Oh, I've walked around all day like a gut punch. You know, once
I don't really care about this.
wrapped my head around what I was seeing, I immediately went to Metro. And then I went up to TDI. Because I think
Oh no, my feelings.
when you pass a squad car from Metro, it says that they are Nashville's guardian. I firmly believe that. And I know so many police officers, particularly after March 27th, they believe that. And if this individual was a member of Metro, violated that pledge, violated it in the worst possible way.
Okay, hold up. Is it true? Let's assume that it's a police officer, because this is all alleged. Let's assume that that's true. If a police officer has released this, has he violated his pledge? Whatever that means. Did he violate the rules of the police organization or even the laws of the state? Probably. But is it unjust to violate an unjust law? No. No, it's not. In fact, it's good to violate unjust laws and to break those laws. That's the thing. If there are some laws that it is good to break because the law itself is unjust. Like that's the whole idea that our founders were talked about. That there is a line that when you cross that line, the law becomes so unjust that you must. They would argue that you must cross it. You must break the law. Like so, especially when it comes to tyrannical laws. Is this a specific case in there? Well, I think that's debatable. I think that there is I think that they have unjustly covered this up, and I think that reporters certainly have a duty to, like Steven Crowder has a duty to seek this out. The fact that every media company in the country wasn't trying to find this manifesto is a little interesting, but honestly, like we knew this was going to get leaked. That's how it goes, and I'm not saying that makes it right necessarily. I'm just like, excuse me, in this information age, we should have just released it. Like, yeah, I don't know. That's my thoughts.
So no, I've been walking around, and so many of our families have been walking around for days today. And So this is Eric Osborne. He's the attorney that represents parents and families. We haven't gotten into what legal options are available. We're still trying to have open lines of communication with all members of law enforcement. Yes, I'll try. Yes. Can we clarify that after the fact? Okay. No, no, no. Sorry, no. To my knowledge, there has been no parent that has been given any sort of access. No. We had parent briefings, survivor and victims briefings.
Survivor and
and
victims briefings.
This is a standard operating procedure. Metro just kind of reviews what their investigation has told them with parent and families. That's the only thing. That's the only knowledge, direct knowledge I have. Or any other parents have. So in my mind, whether it is direct images or whether it's something that is inspired by what the shooter thought, wrote, or did that day, all of it is reprehensible and none of it should see the light of day.
Yeah. So there's a bunch of stuff in there. So he gave the, I guess, political response of, I don't know if we're going to pursue any legal action, but he said like we haven't even had that discussion, which is fair. I don't know if that's changed since this came out. By the way, this is all courtesy of Fox Nashville on Twitter. So if you want to go check them, check them out. That they're the ones who put this video out, this interview. Let's see, what else did he say? The parents, I think there was a question about like if the parents had the rights to this or something. I don't really understand that. I don't know if they gave the parents the right to own this. It's weird. How would you give somebody else's property? Or like, I don't, like, how does the government have the right to give a victim the rights to the evildoer's intellectual property? I don't know how that makes any sense. I don't know that that's what happened, but that's what it sounded like to me. That's weird. I didn't really understand what they were talking about there. But basically what he said is none of us have read these things. So apparently they had briefings or whatever. I guess that's a normal thing. I don't know.
I actually don't think it will change our current legal case. I feel confident that we will be able to intervene as parents and families in that case. And if anything, I think this shows exactly why we have taken the legal actions that we feel appropriate. Because none of these evil ramblings should ever be. So I think it further confirms that we're on the right track. Okay.
Yeah, I disagree. I think that's it. All right. Yeah, okay, so that's it. All right, so I don't think he gave a sufficient answer as to why these shouldn't be released. His only response is it caused more heartache and trauma, whatever that's supposed to mean, to parents. Okay, I guess that's a reason not to. I don't know. And so, like, again, his claims were contradictory. So on the one hand, he wanted to, he didn't want to release it. I'm trying to remember my argument, man. It was so long ago. Like he had contradictory claims. He didn't want to release it because of the trauma it would cause. But he, on the other hand, he said he didn't want to, or that there was nothing new gained. Well, if you're going to make the argument that there was nothing new gained, then what's wrong with releasing it? Why should the parents fret over it if there's nothing new in there? Maybe there, like that. The fact that you want to hold it implies that there is something new in there. There is something that we don't know that we should see, and so it totally debunks his second argument. So he's debunked his own arguments. He hasn't. The only real reason he has is that he doesn't want his kids to read it. Okay, well, there's an easy way to fix that. Keep your kids off the internet. Like, don't let your kids access internet sites that talk about this. It's not that hard. Like, I mean, children probably shouldn't be on Twitter anyways. They probably shouldn't be on, Facebook and YouTube have already basically cut all that off. So, keep them off Rumble, all the free speech platforms, Don't let them go on there. Problem solved. Like, it's your household. Govern it. Like, I don't see what the problem is. So, I think he's just making excuses. I think a lot of this comes from his own biased heartache and not a place of logic. So I think he's emotionally biased in this regard. And I think that it's important for society that truth come out, especially in these cases. And it's like, hiding the truth always leads to more problems. And so I don't think he has a leg to stand on. He certainly didn't make a good logical argument. It was all emotional, and like you saw over and over again, he was pleading to how we need to be Christ-like. We need to keep these families who've suffered so much. I'm not belittling them for their trauma or the pain that it obviously they've been going through and probably still going through because of this situation. I'm not trying to belittle what they're going through, but that's not an argument for hiding the truth. Like that's not a good argument. Sometimes you got to put your big boy pants on and argue from logic and think logically rather than just letting your emotions guide your opinions. And this is the same guy who doesn't want murdering mothers to go to prison for murder in cases of abortion. I'm like, dude, you're obviously you're obviously you're obviously biased and you're untrustworthy in these matters. So we can't trust him to make unbiased decisions or objective logical claims. Like and what you need in leadership, because he's actually on the what is it, the ERLC? Is that what he's on? He in the SPC. We need somebody that can be logical, that can be objective, but he's obviously very subjective. So there's my thoughts. This is a long one. Hope this helped. I think I've pretty thoroughly debunked what he says. I mean, the whole thing is just an emotional rant. So it's not hard. I didn't do any heavy lifting here. So, thanks for watching. If you made it this far, guys, what do you think? What do you think about all this? All the media, I didn't mention this, but all the media is covering this as a Covenant school parent speaks out. Okay. But yeah, interesting. Okay. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you next time. Peace.